Hey guys, thanks for sticking with us. We are at the final video on this DIY pool build, and today we're going to show you how to install the cover material for your automatic pool cover, and we're going to show you what that finished pool equipment pad looks like. Stay tuned, we're almost done.
All right, now that we've got our system secured, set in place, everything that's down in our box is all secured, ready to go, centered up. We're ready to roll out our cover so we can run our ropes down through the tracks, put those tracks in, and get those secured. So, first thing we want to do when we go to roll out our cover is always remember that when you're standing behind the cover housing, looking out at the water, your cover is going to unroll from your left side. Doesn't matter if the motor's over here or over there, that cover is always going to unroll left to right, like you're reading a book, okay? If you unroll the cover from right to left, you have to roll it back up and try to carry it or put it back in the box just to get it down to the right side, because it will be upside down. So just remember, unroll left to right. We've already removed the lid to our cover box here, but I want to point out the fact that this cover box does come as a lid and a bottom piece that fit together, okay? There is tape on the box, but I recommend you don't cut that tape with a knife. If you're going down at this cover box and you've got a sharp knife, it can go through and rip that cover. So how you want to do it is cut sideways, cut the 3 big white bands off of this box and remove your lid, just like taking the top off. That way we don't have a knife blade going towards our fabric. On that lid of the box, you're also going to find information, should have the name on there for the job, associated with the job, as well as the dimensions of the pool and the color of the cover inside. So it doesn't hurt to double check. You know what size pool kit you're building here. Just double check those measurements before you get everything opened up and rolled out on the deck. So that way you are sure you got the right thing. Perfect. All right, so we want to make sure that our webbing, where it's all folded up on itself, is in a pretty good line here with where our tracks are going to go into the encapsulation. Okay. Then we're ready to open this up, unroll this cover.
Alrighty.
As we go here, you'll find we've got a patch kit. It comes with every cover, as well as some warranty information. So you want to make sure you keep this somewhere safe.
Definitely hold on to this, right?
Yep.
I love this gray color, and you have a lot of different colors to pick from too.
Yeah, this is technically called our charcoal. We offer a gray, which is a little bit lighter. This charcoal is probably our most popular cover color and one of my favorites. I think it hides the dirt the best. Sure. And just looks the newest, the longest.
Well, definitely with this setup, I think it looks fantastic. So that gray deck with gray coping and gray accents.
Yeah, and it can actually help if you're in a cooler climate, help kind of gets nice and warm in the sun.
Keep that sun in there, or yeah, to retain some heat of the water.
Help keep that heat. All the covers help keep the heat. I think the darker ones can also maybe even add a little.
Sure, it attracts it.
Yes. All right, now that we've rolled our cover out, something we can check real quick. We see that warning label right there in the center of the cover. That lets us know that the cover is rolled out the correct way and the top of the cover is facing up. So we're ready to unroll our ropes. I'm going to show you guys how I like to unroll the rope. If you unroll your rope, you got a nice place to unroll your rope before you pull it in the track. It's going to make pulling it through the tracks much easier. If you just try to take the end of the rope, pull it through the track and let it unspool on its own, you're going to get a lot of knots and tangles, and it's going to slow you down. So I'll show you what I like to do here. Jones, go ahead and grab your rope. We'll pick them up here. Unloop any rope we got here. So we're just right there. All right, you're good. Yours was about unlooped. We're going to take this tag off. Okay, and then I like to just go ahead and take my rope like that, rip through that duct tape. We're going to keep this rope balled up in how it was wrapped. We're going to take one hand here. We're going to just manually unspool this rope. Now here, we're lucky in this backyard, we've got a little hill place to walk down. The more space you have to run this rope out, the better. Sometimes, depending on your backyard, there could be a stone wall right here, a fence. So you may need to just walk back and forth as you unspool your rope, but here we've got a little bit of space, so we're gonna take advantage of that. So Jones, let's just go ahead, whoop, one at a time here. Just unspool this rope. We're gonna get to the fence here, unspool a little extra. I'm just gonna kinda walk around in a little bit of a figure 8 here, getting rid of the rest of my rope. There's no particular pattern or anything here. We just wanna make sure that we don't have any big knots or problems in this rope. Again, if I've got more space to walk further away, I'm gonna use every bit that I can to get this rope undone. Now Jones, his rope over there, he's got the non-motor side rope, so he's gonna have about 20 extra feet of rope more than me, so it's gonna take him a little bit longer. That's all right. Jones, start making your way back this way. Go all the way till you got the very end of the rope in your hand. Once you got to the end of that rope, we're ready to bring this back up. This is what's gonna go in the track. We'll do one side at a time here. Go ahead and just throw that rope down. All right, we're ready to run our rope through our track here. So how we're gonna do this, we're gonna take about roughly 2-3 feet of rope here, just eyeball it, doesn't have to be exact, okay? This is gonna be what we hold to pull the rope down the track. This is our handle. Now, got our slack here. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put my knee on the track. You can put your foot on the track. Basically, we just don't want this track to move. This rope is gonna run down the front side closest to the water. First, we need to get it in this rope channel. How we're gonna do that, I'm gonna apply some pressure here, give it a simple tug. Now we're in the track, okay? Once we've got our rope started, we're gonna be able to pull our rope the whole way down. Now, I'm gonna show what I've found to be the easiest way to do this. You wanna make sure you always keep the rope between your feet and keep both feet on the track, or excuse me, I should say, keep at least one foot on the track at all times. So I'm gonna step forward with my right foot, use my left foot to help me pull this rope. I'm not pulling here with my hand, okay? I'm doing all of the pulling with my foot. Right foot, pull. Just like this, all the way down. Now, something I like to do, I'm at my splice now. I just like to make sure I swiftly pull through this splice so we don't have any problems. Just like that. Now, down here at the end, my rope did get caught up, so I'm gonna ask my helper here, Jones, go ahead, just lightly pull on that rope, pull that loop out. There you go. And if you don't mind, Jones, just loosely hold that rope in your hand so as it pulls, we don't get any more knots. Just keep a little tension on it though. All the way to the end of the pool, just like that, very easy. Now, before we pull out the end of the track, we are gonna need to remove our pulley. So here we are at the end of our track. We're ready to remove our end pulley casting, take the rope out the end, and get it started down the other way. So, with my foot on the track to make sure it's not moving anywhere, I'm gonna wiggle this pulley out. Okay, we're ready to pull our track the rest of the way out. Now, before we get anywhere with our pulley, we need to get our rope started back in the other channel to go back down the backside. So again, we're gonna pull some tension here, give it a nice tug. That rope is ready to go. Okay, give ourselves a little loop here. Now remember, we've got this 2-piece pulley casting, okay? So if it's, the ends are lined up, it's not gonna come apart. We have to twist it open, take the top off. This pulley is loose in here, okay? So what I found the easiest, get that rope wrapped around there, laid in there, then you need to put the pulley casting on sideways like this and twist it closed, okay? So that pulley is in there and the rope's coming out the rope channels. The ropes are not supposed to be coming out the sides like this. If it is and you try to run that cover, you are gonna damage and break that rope. So we're gonna use our slack to pull this in. Get our pulley in, it's nice and snug. We're ready to repeat this process the same way going back. I'm gonna keep the rope between my feet, step forward with one foot, plant it on the track, pull with my back foot, all the way back down.
If you're inspired by this video, head over to poolwarehouse.com to get your free pool quote today.
Before we go any further with these ropes, we just finished the non-motor side rope. What I like to do with the non-motor side rope is get it ran through our end pulley and pulled all the way across.
Okay.
The reason I like to do that now is because when we go to pull this cover on, we pull the cover over our cover housing and into the tracks. We're not going to be able to easily get a rope all the way underneath. So I like to do that now before we get to the next step, or else we're going to be working backwards.
I love it. Let's work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Now that we've got the end of our rope pulled through the back channel here, we're going to take it underneath our other rope. We're going to run it through this pulley. We need to go in this side of the pulley, and it's going to come out the end over here this way. So we're going to want to put just a little bit of a crook in that pulley, or excuse me, in that rope before we push it into the pulley. Sometimes you may need to twist it, kind of give it a little encouragement to go. And there we are. That rope is now running through that pulley. So I'm going to have Jones, you put your foot on that piece of track there for me.
You got it.
Keep it from moving. And I'm going to take this rope all the way across the pool. There we go. Now that rope is going to be ran underneath our cover. We'll get it situated on these pulleys later. All right, now that we've got our ropes ran in our tracks, we're ready to pop these tracks back down into the encapsulation for the final time. We're gonna go ahead and do that now. Something I forgot to say earlier that's really important. If your track has any dirt, gravel, sand, anything in it like that, this would be your last good chance to flush that out. Stuff like that's gonna keep our track from sitting in nicely, and it's gonna get in the tracks and cause premature wear on our sliders and pulleys. So it's always a good idea to flush your track out with a hose, get any debris out of there before we put those tracks in. All right, so here's our shims. They're universal, multi-directional. They come in the same length as our tracks, so we're gonna have two down each side. One's gonna, at the deep end of the pool, we're gonna have to cut when we get there. But I'm gonna go ahead and drag these out. I'm gonna drop my first one here so that the end of it's right by the end of the pool, right there. Just drop that. And I'm gonna keep going with this one till it's about where our splice is gonna be.
All right, Brandon, so now this shim, does it go underneath or above?
This shim is gonna go right below our track,
okay,
but it's still gonna go inside the encapsulation.
So it's gonna push the track up there.
Yeah, it's gonna push that track up. Do you remember that U shape on the top of the track that we said faces the sky? So that U shape is gonna go up and lock into a keyway in the top of our encapsulation so it can't pull out into the pool.
I feel it actually on the back end here. It's that lip right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's what's gonna push, a shim's gonna push our track up into that keyway.
Hold it in place.
Yeah, it can't move.
All right.
Take our shim. I like to run it right up here to the end. And this is really important here. A rubber mallet or a dead blow. We just don't wanna use a hard hammer on this. And it's okay, we can pull this shim over here into the pool. It's all right if it gets wet. You can start it by hand, but it's good to use a mallet on it.
You're just keeping it right flush with the edge.
Yeah, now sometimes getting in the corner can be tricky, so you can use the butt of your mallet. Sometimes I'll take a piece of plastic or something to help me get this started in here. This one is pretty tight, but for now we'll just keep moving. Now you may find sometimes the shim is real loose. So here I'm pushing it in by hand, okay?
Right.
So this bit of shim here is really loose. You won't have this on every pool. It's all about the concrete and the weight of everything and how everything's sitting here. So because this one's loose, I'm gonna pull it back out a little. I like to do what I call Z folding. I'm gonna bend a little Z in it here.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Now it's nice and snug in there. It's not gonna come out nearly as easily. We'll go ahead and add that every couple of feet. Again, your pool, you may be needing to use the mallet to hit this in the whole way. You may not need to do this at all. We're getting a little tighter here. So I'm gonna switch back to the mallet. We just work our way down the pool. So this is getting tighter here, that's good, it's all right. Now, before we put our end in here, I like to take a utility knife. I like to go right where the end of my encapsulation is. We're gonna score this with a utility blade. Just like that, crease it, breaks right off. I'm gonna add one last little fold here. Make sure our shim's nice and tight. Push it in. May need to use the mallet to get everything finished up. And that's it. That's how we are gonna install our shims. All right, so here's our end wall filler strip, okay? We've got a U-shaped channel in the top. The back is gonna be open. It's gonna go back into our encapsulation, so you're gonna see just this front face. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this in, just like a piece of track. Slide it over, just like that, to the end of our encapsulation where it meets in the corner. Once we slide this down to the end of our encapsulation, we're gonna lift it up, put our next new shim underneath here, shim it in place just like track. To get a measurement on our next piece, what I like to do, this is how it's gonna go in there. I like to actually flip this piece over the opposite way. So when we cut it, we get a nice factory edge to factory edge here at our seam. So it looks really clean. You won't even be able to see where these pieces meet when we're done. I like to just take a utility blade, get me a nice line here. And that's where we're gonna cut on the circular saw, or on the miter saw, excuse me. And then we'll bring this back over, get it installed. All right, now that we've got this cut, we're gonna have our factory edge here, like I said, meeting up in the middle. Gonna come down here, pop this in, and hit our shim in the rest of the way. Yeah, that's our loop in there. That's where that cover is gonna go in, or that leading edge bar, excuse me, is gonna go in. One thing I'd like to point out is you may notice this side of our leading edge bar has 2 bead channels. This side has 1. I like to put the side with the 2 bead channels facing forward towards the water, towards the end of the pool where it's gonna run. I think that makes it easier to pin our cover on the back of the bar here, which we'll get to in just a bit. So Jones, go ahead. This part can be done with 1 person, but it's a lot easier with 2. Now, before we push this in, Jones, I wanna say, once we start going in, we can't pull out. We could lose that cap in the middle. So just make sure you don't ever pull back on it. Go ahead. Oh, hang on. Make sure our loop's around. All right, go ahead. Hang on. Caught it. There we go. Go ahead and push that in. Now when we get to our end here, before we push the end in, like to grab our other cap, have it ready. It also protects your hand if you're pushing real hard on the end here, from cutting your hand up in case that metal's sharp. We're gonna go right to about there, okay? Right where our bar is, right at the edge of our loop. Now at the other end, our bar is not gonna be coming out of the loop yet. There is more fabric here than there is bar, and that's by design. There has to be extra fabric built into this cover to hang down and touch the water, so there's gonna be extra fabric on our loop. We'll show how to make that look normal later. All right, now that we've got our leading edge bar slid in right up to the edge of our loop in the fabric, this is the end where we want to start working on everything. So we're gonna put our leading edge bar insert assembly together on the slider and into the leading edge bar. There's a lot of small steps here, so I want to make sure everyone sees all of those. So we're gonna get our leading edge insert. This also comes in that A1678 kit box. You'll get a screw, number 2 Phillips with a 3/8 nut on top. We're gonna take that apart. Make sure we don't lose it. Set it aside where we have access to it. Now I like to hold the bar here in front of me where it's easy to work with. So we're gonna start by sliding our insert in. That 90-degree bracket's gonna be on the bottom outside like this. Slide in just like that, okay? It's gonna go all the way in. Now, our next step is to use that screw to fasten this 90-degree stainless steel bracket to our slider. It also needs to go through this small hole in the cover. So real quick, if we take a look at the bottom of our slider, this is our A1100 black slider. This is what's gonna run in the track. So right here, you'll see we've got 4 countersunk holes. We're gonna use the countersunk hole closest to the water, the front of the slider. We're gonna put our screw through there, going up. That screw is gonna go right through the hole in our fabric, and then that screw is gonna go through the center hole on our stainless steel bracket. Finally, we're gonna put our 3/8 nut right on top, okay? We're gonna snug this up. This does not need to be crazy tight. Now, I personally find it easiest at this stage to kind of roll this whole assembly up on its side, put my 3/8 wrench on, use my impact, and just lightly snug this up. Does not need to be crazy tight, okay? We still want to have some flex here, so this can move back and forth. It is not supposed to be so tight it won't move, okay? The next step we're gonna do is we're gonna use our bonding wire. We're gonna attach our bonding wire and our cover, and we're gonna pin all that to our leading edge bar, okay? Before we get to that, I like to make this bond wire look a little cleaner, I like to put this bond wire under this 2-hole plate here. So to do that, we're gonna loosen up one. Oop. And we're gonna take our other screw all the way out. Put our bond wire right underneath. Make sure there's no slack in it. Snug these screws back up. We don't need to go crazy. Those screws are in a polymer plastic, so you drive them too fast or too hard, you will strip that out. Now we've got our bond wire cleaned up here. We're gonna lay it out of the way while we get started with our pinning screw. The bond wire will be the last step that goes underneath that screw. So we're gonna switch over to our 5/16 hex head bit, and we're gonna grab our A1864 screws. These are very small, self-tapping, anodized hex head screws. It's important that we use the right screw here. We'll also be using these screws later to pin the tail of the cover to the roll tube as we're finishing up this job. All right, I'm gonna get my screw right here on my impact ready to go. And before I have a place to put it, I'm gonna make sure I push my leading edge bar into the fabric loop so that the outside of this plastic cap is flush with the outside of this fabric, okay? we want to pull our fabric back this way, taut on the front of the bar, and this is where we're going to put our pin. You'll notice here there's about a 3/4 wide strip of fabric that is looks like a slightly different color. That's because this is where a heat weld was when the fabric was made. We're going to go dead center in this textured section of heat weld here with our screw at a 45-degree angle into the rounded part of our leading edge bar. That's why we didn't want to do it up here at the front where there's a bead channel. So we put our single bead facing back so we had a nice piece of metal here to grab into with our screw. Okay, this screw is going to go through the fabric, then through the metal, and then into our plastic cap. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Now we've got that in, we're going to pull it right back out. I want to show you exactly what was going on there. So we went through the fabric, through the aluminum, and into our black plastic cap. Pull that out just to show. So it went into that black plastic cap. That's what's going to hold that cap in from popping off. Now, before we put this screw back in, we're going to do one final step. We're also going to attach our bonding wire. This screw serves a lot of purposes, so it's really important we get all these steps done correctly. Now, I could just stick this in like this, put the screw back in, but we'd have all this extra hanging out and it catch on the coping, catch on something else. Just doesn't look very clean. So what I like to do, put my finger where this is ultimately going to end up, pull all my slack out like this, put a nice hard crease in it, okay? That's going to make this really easy for me to put this excess bond wire all the way up inside the leading edge bar loop where we're never going to have to see it. Okay, now I'm gonna hold my lug here. I like to just get this screw kind of started back by hand here. Put the bond wire eyelet over that screw, and we're gonna line this screw up back in the hole we've already made, okay? Just like this. Snug it up, we don't need to go crazy. Now this screw is going through our fabric, pinning it to the leading edge bar. It's going through our bonding eyelet, which is giving us bonding so this cover can pass code. And we are pinning through the aluminum of the bar and then through the black plastic cap, holding it in place. So it's really important that you slow down, make sure you get this right, because this screw does a lot of really important jobs all at once, and it's really easy to miss one of those. So feel free, rewind, watch it again, make sure you got all these steps right. Let's go ahead. We're gonna slide this into the track here, just get it started, and then we're gonna jump on over to the other side and wrap that up. You'll remember, we've got a lot of extra slack here. Probably a good 4 to 6 inches of fabric off the end of our bar. We're not gonna be able to get our assembly quite as clean as the other side if we try to install it like this. So we need to slide the fabric down. Now, we went ahead already, put the other end just slightly in the track. What that allows us to do is I can pick up on this and push really hard on this bar, and it's not going anywhere. It's locked into that slider, which is in the track, which is in the encapsulation, which is in the concrete. This is all solid, it's not going anywhere. So this is gonna kind of allow me to push this excess fabric out here onto the tube. And as you guys see, now we can see our bar here at the end. We started to push some of our excess fabric out onto the leading edge bar where it needs to be. So again, we're gonna grab our other insert. These are universal, by the way. There's not a right or a left. Either one. Gonna take our screw and nut, make sure we set them somewhere where we know we're not gonna lose them. Get our leading edge insert put in, And again, remember on the bottom, we're gonna use the front hole here, that front countersunk hole, with our screw going up, through the hole, on the slider, through the fabric, and then finally, through the center hole of our insert, just like that. I'm gonna get that nut on top. Just like this. Now you may find it easier to use a screwdriver and a ratchet. Whatever is easiest for you, go ahead and do. Our other side is in the track, so we can't flip it upside down this time. I like to just set my screw right on the impact like that. I know it does look a little funny. Hold my wrench on top, snug it up. Again, we don't need to go crazy on this. It does not need to be super tight. We still want to make sure that this slider can flex and turn on here, okay? Now, our next step is going to be to address this bond wire. We're going to put it under our 2-hole tab plate. So we're going to loosen a screw, and we're going to take a screw out. Slide our bond wire right underneath. Put our screw back in the hole. Before that's all the way tight, just make sure we don't have any extra slack in our bond wire. It's ready to go. Snug. We are going into a plastic polymer material. Snug it up. Before we put our bond wire anywhere, we're gonna leave it to the side. Grab our screw from the A1864 bag. It is a 5/16 hex head. Put our 5/16 bit on the impact. Get our screw ready to go. Now here, we are gonna make sure the edge of the fabric is flush with the plastic cap. The plastic cap is pushed all the way into our leading edge bar. We can see if we look very closely, we have about a 3/4 inch wide strip of fabric that has a different texture to it from the heat weld. We're gonna go right into the middle of that heat weld at a 45-degree angle on the round of our leading edge bar. Just like this, slowly. Good. Take our screw back out, set it aside. Clean our metal shavings up. We're gonna take our bond wire eyelet, hold it right where that hole's gonna go, pull any excess bond wire out here, crimp it nice and tight so we can stuff it easily inside the leading edge bar. Just like this. Okay, we're gonna keep that eyelet where I can see it. Start our screw back in by hand. Again, it's right here on the edge of the aluminum. Gonna go through the eyelet, the bond wire, line it up with the same hole that we already just drilled, and just gently put that in. So just so we remember, review here, that screw is going down through the fabric, through the eyelet, through the aluminum, and into the black plastic cap. It is serving 4 jobs at once, so we just want to make sure we get that right. Now we're ready to slide this side of our slider and the leading edge bar into the track, get it started. So to pull the slider and the cover into the track, it's best to pull on the rope. So we're gonna go ahead, get our slider channel lined up into the slider channel of the track, lined up with our slider, sit right on there, gently pull our rope, make sure everything's lined up, pull that rope some more, and now our cover's in the track. Up next, we need to put in what we call our track retainer screw. This screw is extremely important. If this is forgotten, your tracks can slide back, and if not caught in time, you can actually rip your cover over time if this isn't put in. So this is very important we get this put in. I like to use a 1/4 inch bit. That way this screw just drops down in nice and easy and can come back out easily for service reasons. If you want it to be snug, you can use a 3/16 bit, but it is often that it's almost too tight and you can pop the heads off of these, so I just like to play it safe, use a 1/4 inch bit. We're gonna go through our encapsulation into the U channel of that track, that channel that's facing the sky. The reason is there's nothing in that. If we go in over here, we're gonna hit our rope. We go in over here, we're gonna hit our cover or our rope or slider over here. So we need to make sure we go through that U channel, okay? We also wanna make sure we don't hit our drill chuck on the deck, so we'll just be careful of that. Okay, so this hole goes through the top of the encapsulation, then the track, and then the bottom of the encapsulation. It's gonna act as a cotter pin, keeping that track from ever pulling back this way into the box. We're using the same screw, by the way, that we used into the feet of the system to put those feet in, that same screw. All right, up next, we're gonna put our guide feeds on here. We're gonna get those out of our A1792 under track encapsulation kit. Guide feeds come in a plastic bag in the box. Go ahead and pull those out. There's our first guide feed. All right, there's our second one that's gonna go on the other side. I wanna also show the hardware that comes with these. So you'll notice you get two 3/8 nuts with this. You'll get 2 Allen head screws that are shorter. You'll get 2 longer Phillips screws. Now, if you don't have Allen keys with you, you'll want to go to the Phillips screws. I prefer the Allens though, because they're a little shorter and easier to use actually in this application. If you cut your encapsulation off flush and you need to use a retainer bracket, you'll need to use the longer Phillips screw. To put our guide feed on, we need to first start by taking it apart. We've got a top half, which does read on it 403 UT guide, that's your top half. And then our bottom half does not have any text on it outside of this part number here, and a nut receiver. Okay, that nut receiver goes on the bottom. You have to have your slider in the track and pushed up several inches past the end of the track before you can put these on. If you try to put these on and then put your slider in the track, it will not work. So we're gonna hold our bottom down. We've got both of our channels here. One's gonna hold our webbing, the bead of the webbing, and one's gonna hold the rope, just like that. Same with this, there's 2 channels here. Those are gonna straddle the rope and the webbing. Once we've got that assembled, slide it right onto the track, okay? That's how the guide slides on. Once we've done that, we're now gonna switch to a smaller 3/16 bit with that guide all the way on. I'm gonna hold it on, I'm gonna drill here, straight up and down. I'm gonna make sure that hole's nice and clean. So when we go and stick our screw through here, we're not catching any burrs. Underneath, we'll put our nut on. So we're gonna use the 5/32 Allen key. Now, because there is a nut receiver on the bottom of this guide, we don't need to use a wrench under there. We can simply pop the screw right up into place so it's holding, I'm holding that nut in the receptor on the bottom. So when I use the 5/32 Allen on top, no need for a wrench, and it'll just snug up just like that. Now that we've got our Allen tightened up and our guide installed, we're gonna test and make sure that guide's on there correctly. If that guide is installed correctly, this slider, which is attached to our leading edge, cannot come out of the track. So I'm gonna push really hard here. It is not gonna come out of the track. Our guide acts as a positive stop. This is one of my favorite things about CoverStar, is how strong this guide is. So you guys can see I'm hitting it hard, it's not going anywhere. If it comes out, you installed it wrong. You need to take it apart, try again. So we're gonna start with our far side rope first. This rope is gonna go through the end, here, through the end, behind both of these first 2 pulleys, and then through the 3rd pulley. Sometimes we need to use a small flathead to use this little pulley window here to help encourage the rope through. I'm gonna put my finger over here, help myself catch it when it gets there. Push it down. We can see, do you see this rope coming through there, that pulley window? I was able to stick my finger in and push it down. So when I push on that rope, right there. So that far side rope goes all the way through the back to the rope, this side of the rope reel. Our close side rope, this one, ultimately is gonna go through this pulley, and be on the close side, close to the pool. Our next rope's gonna come through here. This one's generally a little harder. I like to crook this one a little. Okay, we're through our first pulley here. Coming around to our second. I can see it in the pulley window. So I'm gonna take a small flathead screwdriver, which I don't remember where it went. Take our small flathead, you can use a little hook tool. Just kind of encourage that rope right there. We're good to go. I'm gonna pull all that through. Once we've got our ropes ran, everything's on here, we're gonna pull our ropes. We're gonna get our first one, pool side rope, nice and tight till we see that cover just budge just an inch. Our backside rope, I like to give it a little smack here like this. If it's slapping the cover, I know it's running clean across the back. It's not caught on anything. So I'm good to go ahead and give that one a little bit of tension too, till I just barely see that cover move. Keeping the tension on these ropes. I'm gonna make sure our leading edge bar is straight. If that bar is not straight, now's the time to pull it straight, okay? Keeping the tension on the ropes, I'm gonna step over like this, with my foot, right where that leading edge bar is, all right? In line with that bar. If that bar is an extra 6 or 8 inches out this way, we're gonna put our foot down wherever that bar is, all right? Pull the ropes up. I like to cut them right here about my hat, right around 6 foot mark, okay? Gonna pick a spot there. We can all see that. That's where we're gonna cut, right here. I'm gonna pull my hands a little bit further away, but I'm still gonna make sure I know exactly where on these ropes is gonna be even. We're gonna melt these a nice golden brown. You don't wanna get these so hot you melt through them. I recommend a little butane, propane torch like this. Use something like MAP gas. It's generally gonna be so hot, melts through it before you're even ready. Be a little more controlled with something like this. Just toasting them nice and brown like a marshmallow. Don't need to burn through them. If we melt them up, we'll have to go down a couple inches and start over. The whole point here is that we're just melting the core of this rope so that it doesn't separate from the outside of the rope. We're gonna cut there. To fold it over just like that. Take the utility knife with a nice fresh blade, go right through, okay? Do it again on the other rope, same spot, right through. Take our extra rope, throw it aside, don't toss it just yet. We may need it for an adjustment. So a scrap of it, I should say. Here's our rope ends. Once I get to this point, I like to remelt these again. It cannot hurt to just make sure they're really melted well. We have no little frays, nothing sticking out. Otherwise, after a run or two of it fully being separated, one rope will break or the cover will be so crooked it won't run right. So really want to make sure we get this right the first time. See the color difference on those, just slightly golden brown. Up next, we're gonna set our ropes into the set screws on the reel. You may need to rotate your reel to get these up to the top. Small flathead. There are some variations of the system that will come with a Allen screw, so you may need an Allen key for this. This is the flathead here. We want to just back this up a little. You don't want to back this screw out because if you do, it falls down in the box. It's very small, difficult to find. We're going to just take this little black bead out. That is trash. That's just simply to keep these screws from vibrating out during shipping. So again, backing that screw up far enough to get this out, but not so far that we're gonna back the screw out and lose it. So again, this rope is gonna correspond to this side of the reel. The ropes will always go through the set screw towards the water. If you're doing a CS3000 system, there's gonna be another set of pulleys on this front side you'll go through. And once you go through those, you'll go underneath and you'll still take the ropes this direction. So the ropes are always going like this towards the pool. I like to think we're near the end of the project. We're going swimming, the ropes are jumping in towards the pool. I like to pull the rope about 1/4 inch past my set screw here. sticking out where I can see it. Get that flathead nice and tight. Gonna do the same thing again over here. About a 1/4 inch past. We're gonna snug this up. Just like that. Now we're ready to wire our motor and switch and run this cover out.
If you're inspired by this video, head over to poolwarehouse.com to get your free pool quote today.
It's good to keep an eye on the cover where it enters the track on both sides. Make sure we don't get pinched up. Voila! There we go. Now, it did close straight, which is nice. If your cover does not close straight on the very first operation, that's nothing to be worried about. I'd say let's get our cover pinned, opened, and ran a few more times before we even start to worry about whether that cover's straight or not. Our ropes have got a bit of stretching to do, so we're gonna run this quite a few times here. Now that we've got our cover pulled across the pool, we're ready to address the tail of the cover. Now, there's two things I want to point out about the tail of the cover. So first thing is, right here on the tail, written in Sharpie, we've got the manufacturing date as well as the manufacturing number. If you ever need any information on the cover for any reason, this is always going to be written on the tail in Sharpie. You'd be surprised even years later, if you were to unroll this cover, this is still going to usually be here and be visible. The second thing I want to talk about is this bead here. We've got a bond wire and a bead coming out of the tail of the cover. We're gonna leave that bond wire. I'll show you what we're doing with that in just a minute. But I like to take this bead and cut it off right here where it's coming out of the webbing. This is gonna be on both sides of the cover. That bead can get folded in or out of the cover and cause one side to run different than the other. If one's folded in, the other's not. I like to just cut them off so I never have to worry about it. All right, Jones, you ready? What we're gonna do here, we're gonna grab the corner, pull all the way forward here across the pool, take your foot, fold it back, just like this. The edge of our cover is just there, yep, right by the box, ready to go on the tube. We're gonna take our impact. I like to use an extension with our 5/16 bit. We're gonna use those same really small self-tapping anodized screws that we use to pin our leading edge bar. The proper way to pin a cover is to with 7 of these screws, okay? And I'm gonna show you exactly how we're gonna place them to use the extra fabric here on the tube and how it's supposed to roll up. So, when we go to pin our cover on the tube, I wanna be very clear about how we do this. I get a lot of people that think that they just need to take their fabric here and line it up right at the edge of the tube. That's not correct. Another thing I see people do is take this fabric, try to pull every bit of slack and get it way over here to the edge. Again, that's not what we're wanting to do here. We want to take this fabric, line it up like it's coming right out of the track, going straight down onto our tube. So it's actually going to be pinned right about here, about 1.5 inches of extra material or so, 1.5 inches, 2 inches hanging off, right in line with our guide, like it's part of the webbing. First screw, we're going to take our bonding eyelet right down here, about 2-3 inches inside from the edge of the tube. Just like that. That's our first screw. Then we're going to jump about 2.5 feet over, pull our fabric nice and tight, put in another screw, and we're making sure we're straight here. We're in a straight line, nice and tight, 2 feet over. Now that we've done that, we're gonna jump down to the other end of the pool and repeat this process. All right, now we've got our first 2 screws down there. We're gonna jump down here to our non-motor end, repeat the exact same process. We just wanna make sure we keep it a nice line on the top of our tube here. Fabric's in line with where it comes out of the track. Gonna bring my bonding eyelet down, pin this to the tube. Just like that. We're gonna jump over about 2.5 feet, pull our cover nice and tight. We're still in line with that side. Gonna pin. Still got 3 screws left. Next, we're gonna go right to the middle of the cover. Get our screw ready. Now here, we're gonna have some extra slack, okay? Pull all of our slack from both sides, straight to the center. If you need to know we're at the center, you can always check with that warning label at the end of the fabric. Centered here, split the difference. We want equal amount of slack on either side of where we're gonna put this screw, keeping it straight in line with the others. There's our center screw. Now we're gonna jump back between our 2 closest screws here, dead center. Repeat this process, find our slack, split the difference. Pin it in a nice straight line. Hop over here, between our center screw and our screw over here. Split the difference. Keep it in a straight line, pin it. Just like that. Now, this next part, super important. A lot of people miss it. We're gonna roll this cover up very slowly and have someone man the switch. They're gonna tap, tap, tap. As we roll this up, I'm gonna jump back and forth from each side and check that our fabric is rolling up smoothly and evenly. There's no folds, no creases, nothing crazy happening before we run the cover all the way. Stop. Okay. We're gonna make sure our bond wire is pulled over off the tube. Everything straight. Go ahead and tap it. Open just little bumps. Whoop. Again, making sure our webbing's here. We're gonna make sure we're tight here. We're gonna pull our extra slack to this corner. I'm gonna check the other side, make sure it's good, and pull my slack to the corner. This side looks good, pull my slack. All right, Jones, go ahead and open it all the way up. The cover opened about 1 inch out of square there. I'm not worried about that yet. We're gonna need to run this cover 3 or 4 more times before we can start making adjustments if it needs any. Let's go ahead and close it. You might wanna get drone shots now. All right, now that we've ran our cover 5 or 6 times, we've given those ropes a chance to stretch. Our cover is running pretty straight right now. It's about 1 inch off here or there in each direction. So we're gonna go ahead and check the lengths of our ropes and see where they're at. Now, if you think about our ropes, the rope on this side runs down and back and right onto the reel. The rope on that side, however, runs down, back, across the pool and then onto the reel. Because of that, that far rope is generally gonna stretch a little bit more over time. So we may find that we need to cut that rope a little bit shorter. Let's go ahead and pull these ropes off the reel and find out. We're gonna pull our ropes out. Again, make sure our cover is straight. Pull some of this slack out. Let's check our ropes. Sure enough, that far one, about 1 inch, 2 inches longer already. So we're gonna go ahead, remelt this one, cut it off so it's even with the other. Now we see that fraying. I did melt it, but it's still frayed a little. This is why it's really important we always fray even after we, melt even after we cut. We don't want any of this stuff giving us trouble. We don't want that core separating. Gonna check our lengths again. Pull our tension, make sure we're all good to go here. Just like that, we got nice even tension on our ropes, okay? So we're ready to go. Put that one back on. Just like I said, that far rope did stretch a little bit more. Same process as before. Make sure we don't crisscross our ropes. Down through the set screw, pull a 1/4 inch past. Gonna guide these ropes on. I like to try and keep them nice and even in a clean line next to each other. If you spool these ropes up over each other unevenly, it can cause the ropes to build up wider on one side of the reel or faster, and that cover won't close as straight consistently. There are times when we may want to do that for an adjustment, but when we're trying to just get this cover running nice and straight, we want to keep everything as even as possible on that reel. Now let's see how it closes. All right, so we're ready to put our lid brackets back on, get our lid on. Okay. If you remember, Jones, on the first half, we put in those 90-degree L-shaped bolts.
I remember.
Those are our concrete anchors. We want to make sure that these lid brackets go right on top of where we put those anchors.
Okay.
So we should be able to find our nut. Here's mine right here. There's
I found mine here.
Yep. So we're gonna grab our rope first, put that rope into the lid bracket.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. And now our lid bracket is gonna sit down just like that, with the rope running right through it.
Got it.
Perfect.
Man, that is so sturdy.
Yeah.
All right.
Grab our next one.
Let's find the next bolt.
Go to our next bolt. Here's mine. Get our rope. Just like that. Now, if in case anything shifted at all during concrete, backfill, whatever, I like to go one more time through with my torpedo level and just check these are all still level.
I like that.
Because if you remember, this did have some flex to it before it was in concrete. Now that it's locked in, we can set a final level and we know it's not going to move.
All right. All right, so now I'm just going to twist that bolt and level it back up. And really, it's that easy. Perfect.
Now that we've got all of our brackets perfectly leveled, they're ready to go, we're gonna grab our flush lid. We're gonna pull it up here on the deck. We're gonna put those plastic beauty pieces on, our nice end caps, make everything look clean. We'll set this lid down in there and run our cover a couple more times. Set this right on the deck behind the box.
Okay.
So, we've got our plastic caps here that we had on the first half. These do have a right and left, so they won't go on the opposing ends. You can see there's a shape here on both, okay? They're not the same, so you need to make sure you line that rounded shape up with your lid. I recommend using a mallet. If you use a hammer, you could crack these. Just kind of get them started. Just like that, nice clean finish. Once we set it down on here, it's gonna cover our concrete at the end, look really nice. All right, now Jones, we're gonna go ahead and set this lid in.
Okay.
I like to set the front in first and let the back fall down.
Okay.
There you go. It's gonna be nice and snug. Can help to walk along.
Oh.
Right down in place, clean finish on the ends.
It is a beautiful finish. Let's see if it works again.
Yeah, let's go ahead and run that cover shut.
If you're inspired by this video, head over to poolwarehouse.com to get your free pool quote today.
CoverStar, thank you so much for being here, Brandon. We appreciate you guys. Couldn't have done it without you. Now let's see if this thing really does what you guys say it does.
You want to go first?
The leap of faith?
Together, 1, 2, 3.
All right, so this pool is pretty much done. John's got a little bit of landscaping done. Bought some furniture, looks really nice. He's done a little bit of work to his porch. Now, what's really important to do when you're not swimming, you're gonna be working in your equipment pad a little bit. You need to know how your pump works. You need to know how your cartridge filter works, your salt system. It's extremely important to understand that stuff. Make sure you understand the flow of the system. Like I said, when you're not swimming here and you're doing anything with the pool, it's usually right there in that equipment pad. Extremely important to understand how all that works. Let's do that right now. All right, so earlier John and Jones laid out the equipment pad, set everything where it needs to be, but they've had a licensed electrician install everything. They've had him do the wiring for the pump, the lights, hook the breaker up. You must have a licensed electrician do that part of the equipment pad. Now, let's start with the suction. This is the first part of the equipment pad. John's got 2 skimmers on his pool. Those are coming up right here, and it runs straight into a 3-way valve. Now this is perfect because now he has control over which suction line is currently moving through the system. He can have both on. That's typically what he's gonna have. But let's say he needs to vacuum the pool. He's gonna plug up a vac plate, gonna hook a hose up to it, and he's gonna use that pole to vacuum the bottom of the pool. He wants all the power he can get from that one skimmer. He can turn this valve, which shuts the other skimmer off. All his control can happen right here. Really awesome setup. Really good to have a valve on your suction and return lines. Now that's running straight into a zinc anode. We'll touch a little bit more on that when I get to the salt system, but that's running right into the zinc anode. Next, we're going into the pump. This is an Aqua Genie 2.2 horsepower variable speed pump. Really strong pump, a lot of features, really cool, efficient, really quiet. It's running right now. I don't know if that you can even hear it. It's on. Fantastic pump. We have a video on that. Check that video out. Kind of goes through all the ins and outs of the Aqua Genie pump, how to set it up, how to run it, all those things. Out of this cartridge filter, this is an Aqua Genie 425 square foot cartridge filter. There's 4 cartridges on the inside. Really simple setup, just an in and out. We also have a video on the Aqua Genie cartridge filter. Check that one out. Out of the cartridge filter, we're going into a couple of 3-way valves. This is a bypass. What John's done here is he knows he's wanting to do a heater. The budget didn't allow for it right now. He's wanting to wait a year or so before doing that. He wants to get his landscaping done. He's got a tiki hut he's wanting to do. Heaters are kind of pricey. Let's do that other stuff first, get the heater later, but he knows he's gonna do it. Really good thing he's done is he set up a bypass here. What he's able to do is just slip that heater in when he's ready for it. He's already got the equipment pad ready for it. He doesn't have to do any extra plumbing. He's already got his bypass. Really awesome. After that bypass, gets into the salt system setup. Let's take a look at that. All right, as we get around to the salt system, we notice that this is an all Aqua Genie package. John got an Aqua Genie pump, Aqua Genie cartridge filter, and we have the Aqua Genie salt system. Really cool salt system, really easy, simple to use. First thing you run into in the equipment here and the plumbing is the flow switch. You got arrows here on the side and on top letting you know the flow of water has to be going this direction. What that does is when the water hits this flow switch, it hits a toggle, lets the system know it can be on and running. When the pump's off, no water is moving through the system, automatically turns off. This prevents the system from burning up, being on when it shouldn't be. You don't want it to be attempting to generate chlorine when there's no water moving through the cell. You don't want that. So this flow switch will protect that from happening. Next is the salt cell. It's a cool, clear salt cell, really sweet. You can see water moving through the system. You can see the chlorine generating. You could also see these titanium plates in the cell. Kind of get to inspect it without having to take the cell off. You can inspect those cells, know when they need to be cleaned. And it's just nice to be able to see water flow through the system, make sure everything's looking good. The pump's moving pretty good right now. So actually you can't tell, but water is moving through the cell at the moment. It's just all filled up, no air bubbles, everything's looking great. On the salt system controller, it's really simple to use. We have a video that goes through everything on the Aqua Genie salt system. I won't dive too much into it, but I'll go ahead and kick it on. It'll take a second. It's gonna read the salt levels of the pool. It'll tell us how it looks right here. Right now we have the chlorine generating at about 20%. Here in a second, you'll start to see the salt cell begin to generate chlorine. Looks like he's maybe a little bit high on salt. That's all right, we'll be able to work that out. But you can start to see now, the cell is now generating chlorine. Really cool setup. All right, I mentioned earlier a zinc anode. I wanted to come back to that after I talked about the salt system. So with this being a saltwater pool, that salt can be pretty corrosive. You don't want your screws that tighten the faceplate to the skimmer to rust out. The ladder that drops down in the deep end, you don't want that stuff rusting out. So like a lot of marine grade equipment, John's got a zinc anode to protect from that salt water. It's the very first thing in the line. So when that salt water goes through the system, it's hitting that zinc anode. It's gonna fight and kill and rust that thing out before any of the other equipment on his pool. That's a consumable item, so that twist nut on top comes off. You'll replace that zinc anode after a couple years. Rather replace a little part like that than, you know, your whole ladder. You have to change your faceplates every year. You don't want to have to do that. Zinc anode's the way to go. Now at the very end, he's got his returns that go back to the pool. John's got 3 returns, 1 in each Aqua Genie skimmer, 1 in the tanning ledge, just a normal jet on the tanning ledge of the pool. He's got each of those valved off. So at the very end here, it tees to his 3 returns. Really cool, he's got control over each of those, very similar to the suction line. He's able to control which skimmer is on or off, or both of them on. Same thing here, he can turn that jet off on the tanning ledge. Let's say he doesn't want that on for some reason. He'll have control over all 3 of these. Really good to have complete control on the front end suction and the back end return. Having control over all that is exactly what you want to do on your equipment pad.
John, we have got your pool completed.
Yep.
What do you think so far?
I love it. My kids love it. My wife loves it. It's been fantastic.
What is your favorite part about having your own pool? Now, knowing this is going to be your first full season, what do you envision your favorite part being?
I think honestly, the ability to have somewhere to like gather and have people over, have birthday parties, and it's like there's always something to do, especially in East Tennessee when it's so hot. There's a place together all the time.
You've created a retreat for your family.
And already, so early in the season, we've already had people over for a whole like pool day. And the kids have already been in it. My son's been in it like almost every day, freezing even.
I love it. Now, if you've been watching along during this build, we started this in the late fall, and now we're in the spring. This pool has just been open for the first time, so John hasn't really had a full season with your pool.
No.
Now, looking back, we started this project as a complete DIY pool build, but we did luck out and have the guys from CoverStar come and help us install this auto cover. Looking back, do you think you could have installed the auto cover yourself?
I'm sure I could have, yeah.
Yeah, so it does go together pretty easily.
Yep, it didn't seem real complicated. Just taking your time, make sure you lay things out and do it right. I mean, they seemed very willing to help with any questions whatsoever. I mean,
now you at home, you won't actually have CoverStar in your backyard, but that's why we've taken so much time to go through every tip and trick that's required for putting in that automatic cover. And as a feature, how do you feel about the feature?
Oh man.
Would you ever not do an automatic cover?
No, absolutely not. It's been fantastic. Just being able to close it anytime storms pop up, there's leaves blowing, the pollen in the beginning of the year. I mean, I've done very little to have to clean this pool because of that cover.
I told you that. So John does have some trees around here, but for the most part, when you have an automatic cover, if you keep it closed during storms or during those type of times, it pretty well stays cleaned. I just opened mine, I guess it was earlier today, and we opened it for the first time to just look at the water. And I've been running my pump for 4 days. I haven't actually cleaned the pool, but the water looks great.
Yeah.
So I think the auto cover is definitely worth it if it's in your budget. Well, John, we appreciate you letting us spend time in your backyard and hang out. I'm gonna be back for a pool party.
All right, we'll do it.
Thank you. Guys, if you've been watching from the beginning, we've taken this backyard from green grass all the way to a complete finished in-ground pool in just a few weeks. Now, if you're at home and you're wondering, can I build my own DIY swimming pool? Yes, you can. We hope this video will help give you the confidence to learn about which skills you could do or what trades you should potentially sub out. We were lucky enough to have CoverStar come on site and teach us all the tips and tricks for installing an automatic cover. If you have questions about how to build your own swimming pool, or if you just want to work on a free quote, remember, you can always give us a call Monday through Friday or visit us online 24/7. We have trained pool pros that are ready to help you customize and configure the perfect pool kit for your backyard. Again, my name is Jones. I appreciate you spending the time learning how to build your own pool, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video or online at poolwarehouse.com.